chained but chosen, the prisoner who found Christ. They called him Bullet, not because he was fast, but because he was cold, precise, and deadly. 4 years, his name alone made grown men tremble in the slums of Port Harcourt. But behind that fearsome name was a boy, abandoned, angry, and searching for something the world refused to give him: love, identity, and peace. This is not just a story of crime and punishment. This is the story of how God reached into the darkest cell and lit a fire that changed everything. Samuel Ekene never knew his father. His mother struggled to raise 3 children, and he was the middle child who always seemed to disappear into the background. They lived in a one-room zinc house, the kind that rattled every time it rained, and every drop of water that leaked from the roof reminded Samuel of how exposed his life truly was. By age 10, he had stopped going to school, not by choice, but because there was no money, no books, no hope. The streets became his classroom, and his teachers were thieves, hustlers, and hardened boys who had long given up on dreams. At 13, he joined a local cult group, not for power, but for protection. But power came anyway, slowly, seductively. He found it in the way people looked away when he passed, in the way even grown men gave him space. He started carrying weapons, collecting debts, enforcing street justice. They gave him a nickname, Bullet, and he wore it like a badge. Every scar on his body told a story. Every wound, a warning. By 21, Samuel had been arrested 3 times. Each time, he came out more bitter, more dangerous. The last time was different. It was a rainy Friday night, and Samuel and his crew had gone to settle what they called unfinished business. A robbery turned violent. 2 of his men were shot. A security guard died. And Samuel, soaked in blood and rain, was cornered by the police and arrested on the spot. He was sentenced to 25 years without parole. The courtroom was filled with murmurs and cold stares, but Samuel didn't flinch. He looked the judge in the eye and smirked. In his heart, he believed his life had ended long ago. Prison, to him, was just a different kind of jungle. The first year behind bars was war. Fights, stabbings, drugs. It was survival all over again. He ruled his cell block the same way he ruled the streets, with fear. But even the strongest eventually grow tired. One night, lying on the cold floor of his cell, Samuel stared at the ceiling and whispered, "Is this all there is? Is this how I die?" That was the night something shifted. It started with a man named Pastor Remy, a short, gentle preacher who visited the prison every Wednesday. He brought Bibles, sang old worship songs, and always ended with the same sentence, "Jesus loves you, even here." Samuel laughed at him the first time, mocked him the second, ignored him the third. But the 4th time something happened. Pastor Remy told the story of Paul, the man who once killed Christians but later became one. He spoke about chains, not as punishment, but as purpose. He said something that struck Samuel like lightning. Sometimes, God allows the prison to save you from the grave. That night, Samuel couldn't sleep. The words haunted him. Could it be that these chains weren't the end, but the beginning? The next Wednesday, he came early, sat at the back of the prison chapel, said nothing, but he listened. Week after week, he returned. Pastor Remy noticed. He started sitting closer. One day, Pastor placed a worn-out Bible in Samuel's hands. The leather was cracked, the pages curled. On the inside cover were 3 words scribbled in blue ink: "You are chosen." Samuel stared at those words for hours. And slowly his heart, once made of stone, began to crack. He began reading, first out of boredom, then curiosity, then hunger. He devoured the Psalms, found himself crying at Isaiah. And when he got to Romans, he wept. Romans 5 verse 8 hit him like a flood. But God demonstrates his own love for us in this. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. It broke him. One cold morning, in that same prison chapel, Samuel dropped to his knees. Surrounded by men with tattoos and torn clothes, he lifted his hands and whispered through tears, "Jesus, if you want me, I'm yours." The chapel fell silent. And then, a single voice began to sing, "Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound." Others joined in. The Spirit of God filled that dusty room. From that day, Bullet died. Samuel was born again. He stopped fighting, started fasting, joined Bible study, began praying with other inmates. Guards noticed the change. Inmates respected it. Some even followed. Pastor Remy mentored him, and eventually, Samuel began leading worship and preaching behind bars. 10 years into his sentence, something unexpected happened. A legal organization reviewed his case and discovered inconsistencies in the evidence. With new testimonies and the support of prison staff, Samuel's case was reopened. After months of court battles, the verdict came in. He was to be released. When Samuel walked out of prison, he wasn't the man who went in. He carried no weapon, no rage, just a Bible and a fire in his soul. Today, Pastor Samuel Ekene runs a ministry called Chain No More, reaching out to youths in slums, helping former inmates find work, and preaching the gospel to those society has forgotten. He often says, "I lost my freedom to find true freedom. I was chained by man, but chosen by God." And now, he walks not in fear, but in faith.